Now, when you learn to drive, how many of you learn to drive with your hands in 10 and 2? Is that true? Raise your hand if that happened to you. All right, now everybody, so I know you're about to finish eating, but everybody hold them out there so I can make sure you know what you're doing. Okay, we're in good shape. All right, put your hands down. Well, we started snaking through Columbia, headed to the house to pick up the family, and I'm driving 10 and 2, and my eyes are focused so hard on the brake lights in front of me, if they even hinted a brightening, my foot was on the brake. We pull up to the house, and I assume the position by the driver's door, and the position is feet spread a little bit apart, and your hands out here in front. Now, if any of you guys have ever ushered in church, you do this frequently every Sunday, I'm sure. And then the alternate is to put them in back. Front, back, left, right. I had it down. And we waited. Now, remember, I'm car number 3. I'm going to get the distant family. We're expecting the family to come out in single file. I'm going to tell you, they came out of that house like ants out of a stomped-on hill. They rush out. And I'm standing in the position. My eyes are getting kind of bright because I'm thinking they're going to, designate who's going to sit in what car. But this middle-aged guy comes between car number 2 and car number 3 and sits in the passenger front seat. It wasn't but about a half a block this middle-aged gentleman starts a conversation with me. By the time we got 3 blocks from the church, I knew that he was the eldest son of the deceased. Further, I found out in block number 2 from the church that he planned every detail of this funeral. He should have been in car number 1. About 1 block from the church, he looks at me, and I'm not looking at him, by golly. I'm looking at the car in front of me, and he says, "Russ, how long have you been working for the funeral home?" And I'm not talking about just any men, I'm talking about barbecue-eating men. As we sat there, I was seated in the middle with 2 people on each flank. Straight in front of me was Mr. Brickle. Now, Mr. Brickle was 97 years old. And we look up across, now most of these things are outside, and I looked up across the lawn, and here comes the eldest senator from South Carolina, Senator Thurman. And he was strutting, he was coming over that hill, and he had an entourage with him. He came to my table first thing. He started out to my far right opposite, and he reached around the gentleman, and he said, "Hi, I'm Senator Strom Thurman." And that man looked all around and said, "Hi, Senator Thurman, nice to meet you." He came to the second guy. "Hi, I'm Senator Strom Thurman," as if the second guy couldn't hear what he said to the first. And that man looked up and said, "Hi, Senator Thurman, nice to meet you." Now, both of those guys most probably met Strom every year at that barbecue. He got to Mr. Brickle. He reached around him and said, "Hi, I'm Senator Strom Thurman." Mr. Brickle cocked his head back and said, "Strom who?" Had indigestion the whole rest of the meal for laughing so much. But Mr. Brickle, at 97, had a little different perspective on how he should relate to the senior senator. I'm not saying Mr. Brickle was wrong or right, it was just different. Our perspectives and our attitudes, sometimes you have to look at them a little bit differently because they might need adjusting. So far we've covered 2 ideas. We've covered that we can improve our attitude if we intentionally go after it. And number 2, sometimes our attitudes need going after. The third idea I'd like to share with you is that one foundation of a more positive attitude is to find humor every day. Now, like many of you, I like good jokes. But I'm going to tell you, the really funny stuff is the stuff that happens to you every day. If you don't believe it, I can attest to the fact, this morning, I got out of bed. My feet hit the floor. I walked into the bathroom and I looked in the mirror. Now, I'm hearing by that laughter, some of you can identify with that. He pulled in 2 o'clock. He was dead on it because there was not a single other car in the parking lot. So he said, "All right." This is going to be a fast meal. He walks into the restaurant. He is the only soul in there except for one lady who's back in the back cleaning the griddle from all that, getting that grease off of there from lunch. She acknowledges him. Sir, I'll be with you in a moment. He walks up and he starts looking up at the menu, which is right behind the cashier station. She washes her hands, comes up there and says, yes, sir, what can I get for you today? And he says, ma'am, I'd like a chicken finger dinner. I want French fries and sweet tea. She goes to town on that cash register. The drawer comes out. She takes his money, makes his change, hands it back to him, shuts the drawer, and leans into the microphone and says, finger dinner, one finger dinner. And then she goes back and cooks it. I realize we're at an HR conference, recognition. I'm going to share with you what that's an example of. That's following policy and procedure too closely.